Yo, welcome back to the channel. Our 2012 Jeep Wrangler gave us a P0520 code, which is indicative of a bad oil pressure sensor. This guy here, I'll show you how to replace it. Let's check it out. Battery is disconnected and we'll remove this cover. It just pops right off. We'll get the airbox out of the way. We got a hose clamp, electrical connection on the bottom, two 10mm bolts, and 4 tabs holding on the upper half, and a breather hose. And the lower half you can lift straight up and out. On the passenger side of the motor, we got this bracket. We're gonna loosen the back nuts just to give it some flexibility. And then the 2 mounting bolts we'll remove. Then we got some breather lines connected to the intake manifold. We'll just get them out of the way. Now onto the throttle body, we're gonna start unplugging stuff. Then this other one is what we took off the airbox. Unplug this one up here. And then the wire loom is just clipped up on the intake manifold in a couple different spots here. One there. Staying in the same area, we're gonna take off the bracket that all that wire was attached to. 2 bolts down here. And the 2 nuts up top here. Moving on to the driver's side. Wire loom is just kind of clipped along this thing. So wherever there's one of these guys, just pop it out. This flathead screwdriver, trim removal tool like this. That's looking pretty good. This vent hose needs to pop off. And one more on the bracket. There's a bunch of them. After you get all that wire loom disconnected, ready to take off this bracket, there's 2 10mm nuts at the top. And then at the bottom, there's one there and there's another one. We're just gonna loosen them. You don't gotta take them all the way out. I was able to get electric ratchet on there. If not, ratcheting wrench, you got it. Should be able to pull this bracket away like such. We'll get this little piece of nonsense off the back here. There's 2 of these clips on it. Push it back out of the way. 10mm bolts holding on those little things. Weasel its way out of there. We're ready to take off the upper intake manifold. We got 7 5/16 bolts. There's 3 on top. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and then there's 1 down here in the corner. You'll find it. I'm gonna push this bracket off to the side, make sure the studs clear the bracket. Oh, there's a wire loom on this side that I missed. Right here behind that bracket. Oh, there's 2 of them. Whose idea was this? Try this again. There we go. I'm gonna go through now and unplug all the injector harnesses. Get this thing out of the way. These red tabs you have to pull back are being a pain in the butt. All right, got all those off. I think I'll just take out this loom. That loom is also clipped on here at the very back. Kind of hard to get at. There we go. Then we got 8 5/16 bolts holding on the lower intake. You can probably see 3 of them here. And they don't need to come all the way out. That one's kind of hard to see, but it's back there. This other back one is kind of hard to get to. This thing should be free now. We are able to leave the fuel line connected. Now we got the lower intake manifold off, and I already got the intake ports cleaned off and some rags stuffed in there. Now the sensor we're after is down yonder. This is your oil cooler and then the temperature sensor. So we'll actually unplug that, and we'll unplug the pressure sensor because that's what we're after. Now this is a socket that's made just for sensors like this. You might be able to get a regular socket on here. If not, you could probably get a wrench on top of those threads. Got it most of the way out there. Just turn it out by hand. There it is. We'll get the new sensor threaded in by hand first. This one came with thread sealer already on it. There we go. Get our socket on there. Now I'm a fix it when it breaks kind of guy. But if you're a while you're in there kind of guy, you could do the temp sensor, you could do the oil cooler, you could do spark plugs, you could do nitrous while you're in there, whatever you want. Plug it back in, plug in the temp sensor, and we're good under here. Real quick, we're gonna change out the rubber gaskets that go on the intake ports. So this is the bottom of that lower intake. You just hook under that old gasket, pull it out of there, and you just press your new one in, make sure it's flush, good to go. We're ready to reinstall this. I'm gonna clean up around here, vacuum some more, and get these rags out of here. Get this intake manifold back in place. Get all these bolts started. I got all these bolts started by hand. Now we'll tighten them to spec, which is 106 inch-pounds, which is about 9 foot-pounds. And there's also a torque pattern, so you gotta tighten these in a certain order. I'll throw that up on the screen right meow, starting with this one. We'll hit all these in sequence. Got the lower intake torqued down and plugged in all the injector wires and got that loom clipped in the back. Now we'll throw on the upper intake manifold. Again, we got all the hardware started by hand. Just like the lower, the upper has a torque spec and a torque pattern. 7.5 foot-pounds about, but I'm doing 8 foot-pounds. And there's also a torque pattern, which I'll put on the screen again. Now that we got all the torque specs out of the way, I'm gonna reassemble this. It should go together kind of the same as it came apart. So I'm gonna get working on that, and if I snag on anything, I'll let you know. Got her all buttoned up, and surprisingly, it actually felt easier to put all that back together than it was taking it apart. So, got the battery hooked back up also. Let's fire this thing up, see what we got. No engine light. That ABS light's a different story for a different day. That oil pressure sensor did the trick. So that's gonna wrap it up for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.